This is Call with Dad's podcast, where today's issues, concerns, and joys of being a dad are discussed, with your hosts E.A. Maynard and Mr. Pancakes sharing their views, experiences, and all things they know. Join the journey with us. Welcome to Call with Dads, more than a podcast or a website, but your home for a community of dads who want to be better. Now let's get started.
The different kinds of ways dads can be strong other than physical. Right. I think it was actually Ben posted something a while back ago that stuck with me where he said, I see all these people posting about being physically strong for your kids, but I don't see people discussing being mentally or emotionally strong. And I'm like, that is true. You see all these fitness, be strong, work out, all this for your son.
Yeah.
But it's like, you have all these guys talking about working out, but none of them are talking about making sure you're strong enough to teach your kid to build something, to chop wood, to clean the yard. It's all hit the gym, do this, work out with your kids. I mean, it just kind of seems like a lot of the accounts that you see on social media when it talks about being strong for your kids or being strong. And, I think you and I have discussed it before about where, working out's great, but there's things that you have to do, like mowing the lawn. If working out does make mowing the lawn easier, but if all you're doing is upper body workout, mowing the lawn is still going to be a pain in the neck because your legs are going to be weak.
Right.
And if you hire somebody else to do all the work for you, all your exercise and all this is just so you can feel like you look pretty.
Yeah. I mean, if you're curling all day long, just sitting there curling and bench pressing heavy weight, you don't really do any cardio or nothing. What's going to happen when you go push that lawnmower across your lawn like 35 times in 90-degree weather? You'll be all like, while you got big, cool, veiny arms and stuff. And you're all jacked, bro, with your flat bill hat and your whey protein, but you can't go up a pair of stairs without breathing. I think I posted the camel yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. That's me trying to get up the stairs on the those playgrounds that have the stairs and the slides real high. Oh, and my daughter's like whoop, right up to the top, and I'm up there like I'm like 250 pounds, like the thing's starting to like lean and stuff. And
right. Well,
you gotta do other stuff rather than just get fucking jacked. Stinking jacked.
Right. But here's the one thing, like I've always known for like me personally, I've gone to where literally I've always been the kind of torque strong. I've pushed. I've worked to where running long distance, I've always been horrible at.
Right.
So I'm not definitely skinny. Most people can only see me from here up, but generally I do have a belly.
Can see me at all.
Well, they see your blurry outline, but generally, I don't look like a big guy and I don't look fat, but I'm also not somebody you're going to look at and see them running down the street exercising because I don't run. But so for me, like running after my kids, I do have the strength, but like the camel, I'm sitting there going, wait, calm down. Yeah. But I have
such a funny video.
It is. But I do have enough strength to like lift them up and hold them up, put them on my shoulder and walk around with them.
Right.
I have the physical strength, just not the endurance. But, the one thing that I always find interesting, and I've seen it on posts where like everyone's talking about the strength and building strength and working out and blah, 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 blah. But the emotional, the hard fast, being there for your kid, being strong for yourself so that you can move forward. Everyone seems to focus on fill your own cup to fill other kids' cups or build up,
Right.
et cetera, which makes sense. But I mean, call me funny. As a dad, the fact is we put our kids first and we put our families first.
Right.
And you can say do this for yourself as much as you want. But this podcast that we do for other dads to learn, and so that we can learn to become better dads and have a better family. That's something we do for our family. We take the time, et cetera, and hope that what we gain out of it is something that other dads can gain as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And tell me where you come off on this thought is, as a dad, it's not all about being physically strong. I mean, anybody can be physically strong and just a jerk out the wazoo. I mean, you could be a horrible dad, but have a great body worked out. So
Yeah,
those
for sure.
those factors are kind of mute if you're, doesn't matter how worked out you are, how physically fit you are,
Mm-hmm.
you can still be a bad dad and still be good at working out.
Right. So, and to me, I mean, physically strong is very important. Obviously, in my mind, just because I've always naturally been a very physically strong, very fit person.
Right.
Even like not working out, if I get into because I've been in lazy man ruts where I don't work out for like a year.
Right.
I'm the type of person that could not work out for a year and then go to the gym and still run 3 miles and go and bench press 200 pounds. And it won't even affect me. You know what I mean? It's just how my body has always been built. I don't know why. Even with a fat gut, it still can do the same thing.
Right.
But to me, that's the starting point, because doing the physical activity gets your blood, your hormones, your endorphins, it's all of those things going to get you wanting to desire up to do other things. And yeah, being physically fit isn't everything. To me, you really need to build on your mental, like reading, studying, focus, because reading actually and studying things actually will not only build your knowledge up on things, but it also help you mentally be able to focus on your kid. You know what I mean? Because so many people are stuck in these, obviously I know you guys can't see them, but these stinking brain boxes right here, the phones,
Right.
That your focus on things, and I'm 100% guilty of it. It happens to me all the time. I'm over there scrolling up a storm, and kids like rah 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 rah, and I'm just not even a clue. And my wife's like, "Pay attention," So you got to get out of that rut and read books. Reading books seems dumb, but it's true.
Reading books seem dumb.
Right. Reading books seems dumb. It's not something that's been around forever, but it is now. Reading books seems dumb. That's an idea that is today a realistic thing. You know what I mean? Because most people are like, I would read books. I could watch TV or look it up on my phone.
Right.
You can, yeah, absolutely. But it's not always about the information coming out of the book, because I could Google 1,000 things in 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Take you an hour to read a book on the same one simple topic. Maybe not even an hour. It'll take you a week, to read a book. But that book, reading the book, will help you build on like focus, stamina and mental stamina. And not only that, it gives you knowledge. You know what I mean? And knowledge is key. Knowledge is important. Perfect example. We were talking about it earlier. Is this whole scenario with this guy trying to build this property next to my house, right?
Right.
I live in a neighborhood with a bunch of single family homes. We all got pretty decent lots, of road. It's a nice little neighborhood. Right. And there's one section of it that is chopped out. That's just an empty lot. And this builder or whatever owns it. and not a home builder, like a guy that wants to put a high-rise tourist building there with stores and all this other stuff. Because I live near the beach, but in the area that I live in is a single-family home neighborhood. So this guy has taken it to the county several times to get approval. Well, more than likely, and I will take credit for it, because I spent hours upon hours upon hours and many late nights staying up late, getting into the laws, the county laws, state laws, building laws, building codes, and just reading and reading and reading and reading. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't have all those physical books, but I download them on my computer and I can sit there and read them. So I'm studying and reading about this stuff, gaining all this information and knowledge for the future. And then this guy puts it in and goes to the county. Well, I go to the county and I pull the laws and I tell them why they can't do this and they have no legal authority to prove this and this and the other. And the county doesn't approve it. And I just stopped and protected my home from a tourist thing going in. You know what I mean?
And killing your property.
Protected my property. Not to mention I protected all the neighbors around it because I'm friends with them all and they all are petrified that this is going to happen and destroy all of our homes. So just based on knowledge, that little thing, learning something, reading something actually helped and helped me and protected me, my home and my family and all my neighbors. So that's one of the other reasons why, mental knowledge, studying and information is important alongside of physical strength. Mental strength is very, very important.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like you can't do one without the other.
Oh, I agree. And the funny thing is I've read enough building codes that I could do without. I mean, with so all this, and if I relate building code books to, you remember those old books, Choose Your Own Adventure? That's how I consider building code books is, if you want to do go here.
Chapter 3.3.3.3.3.3.
Yep. And then you go there, then you're like, you're reading that and goes, and then C, and you almost going, you're like, no, stop, just answer the question, get to the point, stop making me go through the entire book. So building codes, it gives you a whole different way of thinking. And that's, besides being more mentally strong, I think reading and working out your brain, doing things that's making you actually think, and call me funny, I'm not talking about playing like a block game on your phone where you, but actual reading, trying to figure out solutions, try to find out something, it's kind of funny to me. I think about everything I've ever done. I've always looked at it as, what if I was trying to run this business, or what if I was trying to do this as a business? Because thinking of it that way gives you a whole nother way of thinking and understanding something and being able to comprehend, which after years and years of having that mindset as I do stuff, it allows me to also teach my son, and hopefully when my daughter gets old enough, I'll be incorporating that in her lessons as well, of if you think this way, you can realize a business is ran this way. You have to make this amount of money to survive. You have, because the government's going to steal tax you. They will, they will take so much money from you and give it to people that just want to stay home and do nothing. So you need to calculate your income based off of how much money you want to make, how much the government's going to steal from you, and what your expenses are and all that stuff. And as they grow, mind you, at this point, I don't teach my 5-year-old or 6-year-old son about taxes other than he hears me say taxes are evil. But he hears me discuss money. I do tell him they charge us this much. Like tomorrow morning, we're going to go get crickets for his gecko. And every time we go, we get a different amount of crickets, 36, 37, just varying for the purposes of different numbers coming up. And I say, okay, we're spending this much. they're going to charge taxes, which is going to increase the cost of buying this. And then you have to take into account, just because it says $5 doesn't mean you pay $5. The government has to take their cut too, but the store is not going to pay the taxes for you. They're going to charge you the taxes, or it's going to be added into the product itself. And at 6 years old, he's starting to understand this to the point of he sits there and he'll take the change and then look at the receipt and say, okay, taxes. And then he takes the change and hands me the receipt because he's done with it after that. But I mean, it's once you get into a certain way of learning how to think and working that way, like you went through, and you're protecting all these properties, your property and what so have you, by learning the building codes and building laws and county laws and et cetera, you're able to do all that. But I have a feeling that in years to come, that's a way of thinking that you can also teach your daughter to say, hey, look at this. This is to solve this solution. You can do this and look at this, and who knows what you can do with that information. But it also builds that mental acuity up to being, besides just being mentally strong, to be able to focus, to be able to take in more information. The more information you take in, the better you can utilize that to your family's benefit. And call me funny, but you can also create a new way of thinking that hopefully helps you improve your family, improve yourself, and with any luck, improve your situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really got to learn lots of things and push yourself. I mean, all the time. If you let yourself get dormant and just get and just mosey on through life, that's why, I think a couple of the guys from the Lords of X were talking about the other day, retirement's garbage. Retirement's a lie. It really is. As far as needing money, retiring, I hope to retire in one day. And as far as the need for the dollar, that is a real goal. But most people don't look at it as that. Most people look at it as retirement as in, I no longer need to do anything. And that is incorrect. You should not want to do that, because that's how you get old and die, My grandfather, love him to death, awesome man. He's still alive. Not in the greatest, but he worked all the way up until around 2020. He did most of his work in his later years, probably from late 60s to early to the 2020 range, was mostly consulting, because he did all the work before, but now he just mostly put in consulting stuff for a small amount of money.
Right.
But in 2020, that kind of stopped because, the world stopped at that point.
Right.
So he stopped working, and within a year, his health was right to the toilet. Now, can I sit here and go, oh, it was definitely because he stopped working? I mean, the guy's 86 now, so it's very possible. Could be a coincidence, but it's funny that those two things coincide. The moment he stopped working and stopped having a need, somebody needed him, somebody required his presence, somebody required his information. He had a desire to figure out a new problem, solve a new situation or a new puzzle. His health declined immediately, within a good year. I mean, he also got the vaccine the same year, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that to me, you've got to have something to do all the time, and I hate to say it, today, as detrimental as phones and cameras and internet and all of our technology is to our society today, it really is a massive benefit also, because it's literally the age of information. We can have access to absolutely anything for 100% free. And anything where anyone tries to charge for it, I mean, for the most part, you can figure out a way to get it for free. There's a way somewhere on the internet. That information is free. You just have to find it.
Right.
So the ability is there. And that's the amazing thing about today, but it is also a very dangerous thing. To me, the third side of strength to me is faith. You know what I mean? And that keeps you on the path of being able to manage things, such as anything in age of information at the tips of your fingers. I mean, you can literally be like, "Hey Siri, show me some boobs on the phone," and it literally will. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stop. Quiet, Siri. Yeah, I mean, you literally can just Google anything and be like, "I want to look at some boobs today. I want to look at, this or that or the other shenanigans," and you can look at it. You can literally Google anything.
Yeah.
So it's that's where your faith comes in. That's where being strong to your family, building that network of friends, building that network of family, close family, extended family, and keeping loyalty. And the more you follow faith, and I mean, you don't got to be a Christian or a Catholic or be Jewish or anything like that. Just faith in general.
Right. I understand. Yeah. I mean, and going off your point is you look at it, there's CEOs and business owners that are 90 something, or, I mean, they're well up there in age and still running a company. Their bodies might be a little bit slower, but they're still mentally there, and they're still taking care of stuff, still making money and making things happen. And you look at going, okay, well, you have these people who retire at 60 or whatever the retirement age is now. Right. And their whole thing is that they want to sit at home and just relax. Right. I had said, every time somebody goes, well, what are you going to do when you retire? And my thought has always been, why retire?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be opposed when I get to a certain age to say, I'm going to cut down to part-time.
Right. Yeah.
Or okay, I'm going to retire from this job to start my own business.
Right.
But to fully retire and do nothing doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, if you have, say, a property where you can go out and work on it daily, and you have a ton of things that you're doing, you're volunteering, you're active, you're not just sitting at home watching TV and searching through your phone with the phone plugged in so it doesn't die on you. If that's your whole life and going outside is like a rarity in the middle of the summer or what's have you, then there's an issue.
It is in Florida.
Well, I'm talking here in Virginia. We only get up to like 100. So in the summer, we cut off around 100, occasionally 105. But I know
it doesn't get that. It actually doesn't get that hot here. It's only, we top out where I'm at, probably 95 degrees.
Okay. Well, you have the sea air too.
Yeah, where I'm literally like, I can view the ocean from where I'm sitting. You know what I mean? So we got the ocean air, but the problem with our summer versus your summer is your summer is probably this long. My summer is this long.
Well, on top of that, you have a whole lot of more humidity.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So when you step out,
it's all sweaty.
Like our summers usually start, I'd say May, usually around May or so here in Virginia. And it goes to past August, September or something like that. So, I mean, we have a nice long hot season. It's not that, but it's the whole thing of even being hot outside. It's one of those things like, look at it. Okay. In the summertime, and mind you, with you being down in Florida, you might not recognize this as much, but in the wintertime, if it gets up to 50 or 60 degrees, you feel like it's a nice warm day and you go out with like just your flannel on.
Right.
In the summertime, if it gets down to 50 or even 60 degrees, you're putting a jacket. Exactly. So, I mean, depending on what your body's used to, will make make a big difference. I mean, but I guess that goes back to whatever you get yourself used to will help you be able to handle what comes your way. And then you can either adapt to it by saying, okay, to me, this feels cold or this feels hot or whatever. But I mean, that's the whole thing. And, you know, it also goes to thinking about emotional strength as well, because as a dad, you know, I'll be completely honest. Before I became a dad, I don't think I would have showed any emotion other than to my wife and what's I have, you know? And it wasn't like I'm sitting there crying to my wife or all this, but my wife saw my softer side. You know, it just doesn't have the sandpaper on it.
Start crying. Got the tissue. He went to Jared.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm gonna cry over something on TV unless it's like now. But yeah, now like I see what was it? I saw a show or a video on one of the posts that somebody I followed put on where this dad's doing something and it's going through and it's showing a father-son relationship and how much the son appreciates the dad without the dad knowing and all this. And, you know, you're sitting there going, I can appreciate that, you know? Yeah.
Something in my throat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, one of the most like choked up movies that I had recent, like in the last 5 years, seems like really dumb, but like I think this movie came out prior to me having a kid, because I had my daughter in late 19. Yeah, December, right? No, it's 18. Sorry, December 18th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was like late December. It was like December 18th, and next thing you know, it was like, oh, 2019. So it feels like it's 2019 all the time. So the movie is Interstellar.
Okay.
You ever watch that one? So right before having a kid, I was like, what's this friggin' kid crying about? Well, what's this dad crying about? Quit being a wiener. You got some space going on. Go fly in space and be awesome. You know, now you watch that movie and you're just like, oh, geez. Yeah. That is a daddy-daughter movie, big time. That is a big-time daddy-daughter movie, and that will definitely pull on your strings from your heart. Oh, yeah.
And that's the funny thing is,
turn it off.
Before becoming a dad, the emotional side that we have is like, we're tough, we're strong, we're hard as rock. You're not going to make me sniffle or get a tear I have to wipe. No. Become a parent, and then it's like all of a sudden you have all these different things. It was like, what was it? The interview we did with Jody. And I remember there's a part in there I said, man, that was just rough to read. What happened to you?
Yeah.
And he was taking it from the perspective of somebody that went through it and trying to help people that's been victimized and all this.
Right.
But as a dad reading what happened to him, I'm sitting there thinking, man, if somebody did that to my kid, it would just destroy me. Right. And all these stuff. And it kind of, some of the things that he talked in his book just kind of made me go, oh.
Yeah, holy cow.
But again, it's all the matter of perspective. If I would have read that book before.
It was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it would have been like, man, that dude went through a hard time, or man, that was.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been.
Right.
Yeah, like, wow, he went into details on that, man. But hearing as a 10-year-old, this grown man did this, and this, I'm sitting there going, and again, it's depending on your emotional state. And it's one of those things that once you have a kid, your emotions are going to interpret and deal with everything much differently.
Right.
And
he's got to have some sort of mental strength to be able to I guess, relive that situation, what happened to him, as well as the situation from his dad, all of that situation for all of these years. So much so he became a helper
Advocate.
for an advocate for it, and he helps people throughout his life. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
the mental strength that it would take to deal with that and do that for his entirety of his life. Basically relive the most wretched situation in your entire life for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I can't picture going through and dealing with all that. And, it's one of those emotional strength things, and even mentally strength that you have to build up to handle those things. And not everyone could handle. I mean, I couldn't tell you that I would be able to do what he went through and be like, oh, okay, let me make jokes and let me do this. A lot of people would be like, I'm going to drink and smoke until I get this out of my head. And,
that's, that's what happened, the mental strength he had to build in order to continue that for the entirety of his life, and actually all in the sake of helping people. So, it's absolutely unbelievable for sure. It's definitely a crazy thing to happen, but I still have trouble wrapping my head around. It's a strength as a man that I don't think I'll ever be able to come to. Is, reading his book made me go, would I really want to go blow that dude's head out? Right there. I don't care. Just would I, because reading his book made me realize not only did the guy deserved it, and it's probably what I would have done, but at the same time, all I did was put my kid through double time. You know what I mean? Double the problems, double the issues, double the sadness, double the hatred and anger. You know what I mean? So all I did was cause more pain, really.
Right. Well,
but I still can't I can understand it, but I still can't wrap my head around it, because ideally I'm going to try and build that strength as a man to not do that for my kid, but will I be strong enough to not do it?
Right. I guess the other thing is the one thing I got is watch what you say, because you have to be mentally sharp enough to know if you say certain things to your kids, it's going to stop them from telling you certain things. Like one thing he did point out is his dad always said he would kill anyone that touched him.
Right.
Now, mind you, as a dad, I'm all for that idea. But after reading his book, the one thing I realize is it doesn't matter if I'm all about shooting the guy in the head, burying him in a field, whatever the idea is. The concept that I really picked up is no matter what I think I'll do, never tell your kid if somebody does this, because you don't want them to think that they're going to cause more trouble if they say what's happening. Yeah. So, I mean, showing that, having that kind of mental strength to not, because it's easy to say, man, I would shoot that SOB, or man, I would do exactly what Gary did. We all think it, don't get me wrong. I mean, and to be honest,
I can see this side and I can see that side. And knowing all of that, I want to be on this side where I don't do that.
Right.
For one, I don't want to put my kid through me having to go to prison forever. For two, all the stuff he explained it. He was, in a weird way, he still had friendship emotions towards the guy because he was his friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then daddy just killed his friend. So now just put that all together, and now you're just causing more emotion. So I can see all that, and I can understand that I don't want to do that. Does that mean I have the strength to hold it together enough to not do that?
Right. And to be honest with you, the majority of the time. Now, the story of Gary shooting the molester, the difference is one, the guy was, back in that time, security wasn't as tight at the airport.
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't do that today.
Yeah, but on top of that, you have higher security, you have more things happening, all this stuff, and it's unlikely that they're going to be.
What? No, sorry.
Yeah, but it's unlikely they're going to be giving the information out about, hey, this is when these people are coming through or what so have you. But the general thing is most dads will not have the opportunity to actually follow through with that concept. And like I said, yes, I would say, okay, I know the likelihood of me being able to go and shoot somebody for doing something to my kid is very slim because I'm not going to have that opportunity. And better or worse, it is what it is. No matter how much I want to say I will or this and that, it's it's mostly all bluster because the likelihood is it's unlikely to happen. But what is likely to happen is if I'm emotionally stable enough to say, I need to control my feelings and my anger towards that kind of situation and talk to my kid and say, okay, if somebody touches you, somebody does something to you, then I'm not going to be upset with you. I just need to know so that I can make sure that no one bothers you, no one hurts you, that you're safe, and not throw in because I'm going to kill them or because I'm going to bury them or whatever it might be.
Right.
I mean, like I said, whatever your thoughts are, no, yes, whatever. I have a theory that even if the molester, that Jeff guy, I think his name was, even if he didn't get shot, everything would have still came out because it would have happened in the courts. Other kids would have been dragged into it, it sounds like. And I mean, he talks about that guy would have gone to jail for a lifetime, but the fact is the guy would probably be out on the streets and running around and doing it all again. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I've always said the best pedophile is a dead pedophile. So
you won't get me to argue that fact,
right? But I mean, and just talking about that topic in itself, kind of brings me to another version of strength that is kind of I don't know if it's a newer idea. I mean, the idea isn't new, but it's a lot more newer today. Is more so on the trust with your kid and doing stuff like that is kind of in the gentle parenting idea that people got going on today. I think we have somebody maybe coming on possibly.
Yeah, I believe we do.
Episode or two. Yeah.
As of right now, yes.
Right.
Well, no,
but
and
I mean,
I'm gonna jump in there because the only reason for the people listening, the only reason we say that is this will be the fourth person that I'm trying to schedule for the discussion on gentle parenting. The other past three people who I've tried to schedule had backed out on me and has just ghosted me when I said there will be no arguing, no personal attacks. It'll be just discussions like what we do. And straight to the facts, we're going to learn what gentle parenting is. And if you don't like a question or you don't have the answer, the interview will end if you start pointing out or yelling about something or trying to raise a fit. Yeah. The other three people that I've tried to get on has ghosted me after I put those standards out because they know, or these people I feel would not abide to it because that's what people do. If they don't have the answer for themselves, they jump in and they start name calling or calling you, trying to do personal attacks to your character. From what I've seen of this guy, he seems to be right on. He doesn't appear yet to be one of these people that is going to back out on this. Yeah. But as of right now, we do have somebody scheduled, and
I hope he comes on. He's super cool. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. I'd love to talk to him, but we disagree, 100%. But I mean, that's okay. That's part of life,
Exactly.
But I mean, part of the back to the strength thing is the idea of this gentle parenting stuff, and it does come into play as a strengthening thing because it is a version of mental strength, emotional strength, faith strength, all combined into a weird way of how you think and what to do, kind of to help get your kid to kind of, I guess, trust you. Because think about 1985. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How much of us really knew our dad enough to be like, oh, Dad, you know, look at that chick's boobs when we were a teenager. When you're 16, could you do that with your dad? No, because it was your dad. You know, that was like, I better watch my mouth around him. You know what I mean? Because there's no comfortability whatsoever. You know what I mean? Granted, I don't want my daughter, you know, talking to me that way, but I do want my daughter to have the feeling of trusting me and loving me and understand that I won't judge her in a way to where she can't tell me certain things like that. So that is a strength that is very hard for men to do. First reaction, you know, when a child does something bad or inappropriate or negative or wrong, is to be like, don't do that. You know, that's the first reaction. And that's incorrect.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
Now, gentle parenting is overly gentle parenting is also correct. And to me, there's a version where it's like this in the middle.
You know, go ahead.
That's a strength thing to be able to get that knowledge and understand which is which and what is what and when to do it and when not to do it and how to do it and the reason why. You know what I'm saying? That to me is a strength to do it. You know, a strength in itself is completely separate, but it's basically like mental, you know, faith, you know, all these strengths. It's kind of like them combined, because you have to get all those in order to be able to do that. You have to have knowledge, you know, you have to be able to have understanding, as well as patience. You know, patience is a hard thing to have as a parent. It's because your kid will test your patience a lot. You know?
Yes.
So, being able to control your emotions, have that patience to be able to, when your child does that wrong thing. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've turned around and that was like, she probably did that because she doesn't know.
Right.
You know, so I had to stop myself, go over there, pull her away from it, and then teach her. And then, you know, honestly, that worked. It did. You know,
right.
There are times when that does work. You know, there's times when an ass whooping is an ass whooping. You're gonna need it. Simple solution is the best solution sometimes.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm right there with you. I mean, my son, even like he gets emotionally worked up at times. Like even today, he got worked up because he wasn't allowed to bring a snake and a lizard home that he found at the park, you know? And I told him, I'm like, you have too many creatures in the house already.
Yeah.
We cannot be bringing wild reptiles and lizards into the house. I've tested that once, and his mom was not happy.
Just get a Jurassic Park sign and put it like right in the front, like right in the front door, like right over the front door. Jurassic Park.
If my son had his way, he would have us build a room just for his critters.
Yeah.
But the fact is he got emotionally worked up and all this about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could have gone two ways. I could have spanked his butt, said, stop your whining, sit down and wait till I come back. Or I took a breath myself. I thought about it. And I'm like, you know, he could be hungry, could be tired. He's been outside quite a bit. It was already running late for lunch and he didn't eat all his breakfast. So being hungry is a logical thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And 6 years old, he's still dealing with emotions and all this stuff. And he's learning how to deal with his emotions. So to me, I sat there and I'm like, stop, calm down, take your breaths. And I've gotten in the habit of having them take a breath. And another thing I've done is tell them, and people might disagree with what I say here, but I tell them, I don't understand you while you cry. You need to use your big boy voice, calm down, and talk to me with your big boy voice so I can understand what you say. And usually he'll calm down and then start telling me what he wants, or he'll get worked up a little bit, but he'll tell me what's on his mind. And as a father sitting there, like I said, I could just let my emotions go, spank his butt and say, shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
Because,
which, mind you, that would probably work for some kids, not my daughter, but for some kids. For the majority of kids, a hard whooping and a sit down, shut up, that'll work. But
yeah, but the fact is they'll probably still sit there crying.
right.
And
then you just kind of taught them that they ought to do it only because you're going to whip their butt.
yeah. And again, and we've discussed this several times, there's reasons for spanking. There's reasons for not spanking. And,
we talked a lot with M.A. Franklin, right?
We went into great detail with him. So I'm going to definitely brush up on that interview once the general parenting, or I think he calls it peaceful parenting.
Peaceful parenting, yeah.
Yeah, but I think once he comes on, I'll brush up on M.A. Franklin's interview. But
for sure,
the one thing I realized is like there are situations that I need to spank my son. No, you don't do this. No, you don't do this. But when he's trying to deal with his emotions and things like that, and I'm trying to get him to calm down and not get worked up, spanking's not going to help. And that's part of the strength of being a dad, is knowing not every solution not every problem's a nail. And so
a lot of them are,
yes,
quite a few, but and I'm going to get canceled, but boys and girls are different.
Right.
And that's all there is, boys and girls. So boys and girls being different, you'd have to, your boy quite a bit more probably than your girl. Because a girl, as it is somewhat receptive, girls are receptive to a butt whooping. Boys are a lot more receptive to a butt whooping. So you can spank a girl for, back talking you, and she's probably going to cry and whine, maybe back talk you some more. A boy, you spank him for back talking, he's going to be like, all right. I guess I don't do that no more.
And it might be sexist to say, but I've realized I've spanked my daughter a whole lot less than I have my son.
Yeah.
And again, my daughter, I know when she's throwing a fit or something like that. And again, I have spanked her, like she starts getting angry and I'm like, no, don't throw that on the floor. And she just stares at you and pushes it on the floor. And you're like, listen to me, stop throwing your fit or you're going to get spanked. I give a warning to her every time. And if she continues, then she gets spanked. Most times I can tell her, stop, come here. And she'll come over and then want held because she's either tired, hungry, or just in a bad mood. And I mean, as a dad, we're faced with business life that we have to be strong and be constantly thinking. I don't care if you're construction, if you're office, if you're whatever. As long as you're an employed dad or a self-employed dad, or you're doing some kind of business, you're thinking about the business world and your business of it. Then you come home and you have to deal with the business of your wife, trying to make sure that you have a good marriage, having the mental acuity, the emotional strength, and the endurance to handle it all. And then once kids gets involved, it piles up on a guy very quickly. And I'm not saying women don't have the same thing, but the fact is as a man, we're the ones that are supposed to be dealing with all the troubles, dealing with all the things that pop up. We're the rocks. And, as much as we like to say, oh, well, we got to talk, we got to do this. Call me funny. I'm not going to go to my neighbor, or go to one of my best friend, or even somebody I've known for, my whole life, say, or even my mom. I'm not going to sit there and go, I'm just so stressed, I don't know what to do. In all truth, I'll be like, yeah, it's been a rough day. I'm fine. I'll survive. I mean, as a guy, that's our answer. I'll survive.
Yeah. And men and dads in general, but for the most part, dads, but men overall have actually come to around these days are, I guess, looked at to have to handle more and deal with more. And it's because, years ago, and I think I was watching it the other day. What's his name? Bill Burr, I think it is. He's a comedian, pretty funny dude.
Yeah.
The dude was talking about clear defined roles between men and women, husband and wife, mother and father, and years ago there was a clear defined role. Nowadays it's just so blurred, nobody knows who does what, so a lot, I'm going to get canceled, but God forbid, women take advantage. I'm sorry. Women take advantage of that. So he was talking about the scenario, when he was a kid, he was saying, he was sitting at the table, mother on that end, father on this end, and he was throwing a fit or whatever. And the mom was like, "Stop doing that. I'm not going to tell you again." Or was you going to your room? So he did it again. He flung a food or whatever, and was still throwing a fit. And his mom was like, "All right, you're going to go to your room then." And the dad was just sitting there eating his meal, just looked up and took his glass of milk and slung the milk in his face. And
crazy.
The kid was just like, well, which is him. He was just like, and he stopped doing what he was doing, and he ran off to his room. And the dad just immediately went back to eating his meal while the wife got up and cleaned up the mess and did all that stuff.
Right.
So on and so forth. Nowadays, the dad is going to have to. He was saying, and this is all stuff he said.
Right.
So this is kind of quoting him, paraphrasing, I guess. He was saying nowadays the dad's going to have to go to work and handle all that stuff, then come home, and if that same situation happened, he would also have to cook the dinner that was there, get up, clean the mess, all at the same time while consorting the child, disciplining the child, and then come back and praise the wife for sitting there and doing absolutely nothing the entire time.
Now,
I was like, yeah, a lot of times with a lot of stuff, you're right. That does happen. It happens to me. I will say that, it happens to me. I do all of this, and then at one end, my wife is like, "Oh, but me." I'm like,
yeah,
you didn't do a freaking thing. So it does happen, and it's happening more and more often today. So men are getting a lot more pressure these days with a lot of that stuff.
Well, let's take my situation for an example. Like, my wife goes to the office now, and I work from home, which I'm happy I do. It allows me to homeschool my son. So normally it would be the wife or the mother would be homeschooling the kid.
Right.
I'm the one handling that, except for when it comes to Chinese class. My wife handles Chinese class because I don't even speak English properly all the time. But the fact is I also
am who I am.
out of 7 dinners, I'm cooking 4 to 5 of them,
Right. Yeah.
And then on top of that, I'm doing laundry, and I'm working with my son throughout the day. I'm doing all these different factors, which, I'm fine with without a question. But it's that whole thing of, you would originally think a lot of the stuff that I do would be something that the wife would do. Right. Now, I'm also the disciplinary, because the kids are going to listen to my voice saying, "Stop that," versus my wife going, "Stop that."
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
it's
so as a father today, and I'm more involved in the sense of, definitely more involved than my biological dad, who, I'm not even going into that whole, but we can use my stepdad as an example. My stepdad was quite involved in my life, right? And great guy, probably the best example that I can think of for any father figure. In fact, I try to somewhat focus or base what I do off of him. And at least that's when it started. Now I'm in my own groove and all this. But the fact is, you know, you can easily say, like, he would go to a factory and work. He would come home and sit down and drink some coffee. He would do whatever. He would have dinner. The only time I think I've ever saw him cook food was when he went out hunting, caught something, or fishing, caught something, then he cooked what he caught. So,
Right.
which was fun. That or grilling, he would do all the grilling. So my mom cooked all the meals other than those examples.
This couple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom did the laundry. My mom, from what I've seen, cleaned the house, all this. My mom.
Those are the very traditional
Yeah.
roles,
But
which these days are a lot harder to stick to. You know,
oh yeah,
just because of different dynamics, such as, I mean, your dynamic is the exact one where it's kind of set in a scenario where it's not you do these roles because you're more feminine and your wife's more manly. It's not the
Right.
case. It just happens to be how it's set. And
it's
I have a
convenient.
buddy that's like that. His wife, him and his wife were in the military both. They met in the military, got married, had I think their first and second kid, and their third kid they had out. He's out of the military. She is still in.
Okay.
He got out due to something or rather, and she just stayed in because it was beneficial for the family.
Right.
You know what I mean? He got out because he had to. She didn't have to, so she just stayed in. So he is the primary
Caregiver.
whereas she goes to work every day. So those roles are reversed, but that's not due to him being more woman and her being more man. You know, it's
Right.
not at all. It's, you know, such is life. It's a scenario that is more common today based on just how society in jobs and working and stuff like that
Oh yeah.
just happens more often today.
Right. And don't get me wrong, my wife does do stuff around the house. I'm not saying I do
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
because like
Right.
she cleans up, she does all these different things. She helps put
Mhm.
the kids to sleep, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean,
Right.
but you figure like for her, she's getting home at 6 o'clock at night and we're putting the kids to bed by 7:30,
Right.
the older one around 8. So, I mean, you have all this smaller time frame for her to work versus the time that I have to do all this stuff. Because
Right. Yeah.
I can easily save something or print something and go throw a load of laundry in the dryer. Not a big deal.
Right. Yeah.
Or
for sure.
tell my son, hey, sit down, let's go through this. I have to type this email. I want you to read this while I'm doing this, which
Right.
makes it easier for me to do to balance all that out. Now, the thing is it's more and more likely, but the one thing is like my stepdad, for an example, my whole life I knew he loved me. He cared very deeply for me. He didn't say it until the very last time I saw him. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
you know, I
Kind
still,
of a man thing.
yeah, it is. But the difference
Yeah.
is like now I'm always telling my son and my daughter, I love you.
Right.
I
Yeah.
give
Same
up-
with me.
Yeah. I give them hugs all the time.
Yeah.
I show them emotions. And
Right.
I think I've even said on here before that the only people that ever get to hug up on me and love on me is my kids, the way they do. And of course, if my wife wants to, but you know,
Hey.
yeah, the problem is by the time we're going to bed, if either of us has the energy,
Yeah,
you know?
we're both like, "Ugh."
yeah, that's, you know, and that's what,
that's a big like both
Yeah,
wore out.
it's not the desire's not there. It's just, man,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And where my side is very, me and my wife are, it's not like I'm more so like, oh, traditional gender roles, you know, stuff like that. She actually yells at me all the time for being like, haha, woman, go make me a sandwich. She knows I'm joking.
right,
Obviously, I'm just goofing, being funny. They're like, oh, you're weak. Let the man handle it. And I'll go and do something. But I do that as a joke, just messing with her.
right,
You know, but what I am very more geared towards the more traditional style roles. But our situation kind of makes it that way with my job. And then
Mhm.
she doesn't have to work because I make enough to where she doesn't have to. Not to mention, I mean, we're never really into putting our kid into public school and daycares and all this other jazz. We'd rather her
Right.
stay home. It saves money, and our kid got a better education, not getting an education.
Yeah.
Weird. So odd. But with that, I mean, me and my wife does a ton. You know what I mean? I don't harp on her at all. I crack jokes, like the one I just made about me having to, I got to deal with all the stuff she does, and then pat her on the back for doing nothing.
Right.
It happens, but I'm also guilty, so it happens.
Yeah.
My wife does an enormous amount of work, so the same scenario happens, but she does all the traditional roles, and it's only because we just are lucky enough to where that's the scenario in our house,
Right.
But she does. I do cook though quite often, but only because I'm a good cook.
Right. Well,
weird pancakes.
Who would think that somebody that Mr. Pancakes with your dad has a interest in cooking? I would have never put 2 to 2 together. But
I'm a man. I don't cook ever.
Yeah, I have a roast thawing right now for me to cut it and fry it up tonight. So
thanks.
I make excellent food, but I've also known plenty of chefs over the years. So
I've had a grandma.
Well, I've had that too. I had a grandma. I had my ma. So, but like I said, for me, I've had that extra little incentives of chefs going, when you're learning how they do stuff, they also show you, well, when I cook this, I do it this way and I do this, and this is my process. And you're like, oh, interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, I've picked up a few tricks, but that and reading.
I would say most of my cooking and experience in cooking, like I learned a lot from my biological mother, even though she's nuts and in prison.
Right.
Another story for another day. And I've learned a lot from my grandmother, but my grandmother won't teach me recipes. She's shown me how to do things, but she will never give me a recipe. For some reason, she will take her meatball recipe to the grave. Like, tell me your anyway, but most of my recipes and how to make things and cook things and stuff like that, honestly, I learned during my time in service. And I think it was because it's either go eat at the DFAC or
cook your own food.
Or make my own food.
Go
eat prison food or go make my own food.
Hard choice.
Right. So I learned. I did a lot of Googling.
Trust me. I found an app that I use where it allows me to store a bunch of recipes. But let's do this. Maybe another conversation we can get into dad cooking and all this and go down that whole rabbit hole, because with food, you and I both can definitely go down a whole discussion about cooking and the values and et cetera, et cetera. Let's do this. Let's leave the conversation for another time so that people can digest everything we said. We have been talking for a bit over an hour now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank everyone for being here. Of course, I'm happy that people are coming to join us. And as always, people can find you on your website. Where else do you want them to find you other than pancakeswithyourdad.com?
So just obviously the normal website. And then I also have True Social, Twitter or X, whatever, Facebook. Right. Instagram's being funny right now, so not really Instagram. I got to fix that. And then LinkedIn, I'm on there quite often. I would say if you want to contact me, the best place is probably the website, because there is a contact us page. There's a lot of stuff on there. I'm working on some extra resources, slowly but surely. I'm trying to get actually a bunch of downloadable woodworking things. I'm going to put that in the resources section. Okay. I've been doing it slowly, trying to collect a bunch of them. And I think I uploaded 1 or 2 of them. I haven't published it yet, so it's not on the website, but I'm building the page. So that'll hopefully be in the resources section just for dad knowledge. And don't forget there is the courses thing under the Foundations Learning Center spot in there. You can find that in the resources section as well. There's only one course in there, but hopefully there will be more soon as time goes on. But yeah, that's the best place to contact us on the website.
All right. And then with Call with Dads, obviously callwithdads.com, where you can find everything we're doing. The podcast, you can go to YouTube. If you want to contact us, Twitter or X, Facebook, we're on there, and LinkedIn and YouTube. You know, leave a comment on the videos, share them, all that stuff helps us out. And as we always point out, go to the affiliate links that's in the show notes. You can also go to the website, Pancakes with Your Dad or Call with Dads. Both have the affiliates links there. Using these affiliate links do help us because as you use them, they help support us to grow and be able to buy new things, improve different software, different qualities, and who knows, if we get enough, we can start advertising. And I always forget, but there's a buy a cup of coffee option there too. So if you don't want to use the affiliate, just do buy a cup of coffee and you're good to go there. So I mean, we have a lot of options. We appreciate anything you do, and it's really appreciative if you tell people to listen. Hey, these guys are useful. These guys are helping me learn this, or whatever you want to do. And
there's plenty of cool merch too. Plenty of cool merch. And I did start making some off-brand merch. That way it's not so branded as Pancakes with Your Dad.